Well, greetings, Cap fans. Welcome to episode 287 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. Hey, I'm Rick Verbanis. You know me. I'm your host. I got a co-host. You know him. His name's Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob, what is the difference between a taxidermist and a tax collector? The tax
Oh, there's more. Okay.
the taxidermist
Yeah.
takes only your skin.
I like that one.
Yeah? You ever heard that before?
I have not. I have
Yeah.
not. Yeah, but it makes sense.
That it is a famous person, a famous writer. This was in his private notebook back in 1902, and it was published posthumously in 1935. Take a
Hmm.
guess on who it
Uh,
was?
Samuel Clemens.
Yes, Mark Twain.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
That makes sense. It checks out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, why am I greeting you with a Mark Twain quote?
I don't know.
Well, because if you're listening on the day this comes out, it's
Uh-huh.
April 15th. It's tax
Oh, there it
day.
is. I should have known. It does. I break out into a cold sweat every year about this
Mm,
time, persistent cold sweat. So
even down in Florida?
maybe, yeah, the nervous anxiety of tax season. So
Yeah. Yeah. Did you get all your taxes done and you sent in on time?
I did. Yep, we got that done. We go to the same person every year, and she keeps on top of us and make sure we get in there, right up
Good.
front. So I'm happy to
Good.
happy to get that off the plate. And I always got, you go in there and you sit down because you gave them all your documents, and she prepares everything, and then she does that where she turns the screen, and,
Yeah.
and Casey and I, my wife and I, are both waiting, like
You're
holding our breath as
clenching.
she turns it around because we don't know. It's like playing slots, man. You just don't
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did you have good news or bad news this year?
well, it wasn't terrible news. We still had to pay
Okay.
a little, but we didn't have to pay a lot. There's been some years where like, how the heck did that happen, sort of
Yeah,
thing,
right?
right? And then you go in and you tinker with your withholdings, and you can hope like the next year. It's like it's like playing craps. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that
yeah,
happened to me last year. I got hit with a big bill. So I went in, adjusted my withholdings, and now I have a little return. Not much, but it's better than owing. So
yeah,
we'll take it. Of course, it all equals out, right? I mean, my
yeah.
paycheck was less as the year went on.
That's right.
So,
Yeah,
but hey,
yeah.
no bill. So
Yeah,
that's
good.
nice.
That is great. That's good. My son, he paid, I think, $4. My wife told him, like, he got his first job last year working at
Hmm.
the sandwich shop, and of course, they take out taxes, but he doesn't make anything. So I think he paid like $4.31 in taxes. But when she looked at his like W-2, uh, she just glanced at it and saw like the FICA and withholding,
Hmm.
and Social Security. And so she said, "Oh, you should be getting like $200 back." And then so when I looked at it, I was like, "Dude, you paid like $4 in taxes. You're not getting anything back, dude."
Yeah.
So welcome to taxpaying status.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It all goes down from hill,
That's right.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
You just got back from vacation, right?
I did, but looking at the two of us, it looks like you were on vacation and I was not. You have the tan. I
You went to
don't.
Antarctica? Is that where you went?
No, no, I
No,
did not.
no.
I went to the Caribbean, and
Ooh, the islands, man.
I'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, I tend to, because skin cancer runs in my side of the family, so I
yeah,
take for precautions. I
yeah.
slather up. I stay underneath a you know uh, either an umbrella or some sort of palm tree.
Little cabana. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But anyway, do you say Caribbean or Caribbean?
Oh, it depends how much I've been drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
how much Malibu rum I've had, and
Okay.
yeah. So, but I think I'm more of a Caribbean sort of person.
Okay. So I go back and forth,
Yeah.
right? Is it the Pirates of the Caribbean or the Pirates of the Caribbean? It's of the
Yeah.
Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
So at least that's how I've heard it.
Right. Yeah.
But I have been known to say, we're going to, the Caribbean,
Yeah.
or I'm going on a
Right.
Caribbean cruise.
Yeah.
And so we get there and we're in the airport and they have their TV monitors up and there's ads and they
Yeah.
have a beer. They have
Yeah.
a lager called CARIB.
See, yeah. Carib. Yeah.
All right, how would you pronounce it?
Carib. Right.
Well, you just said two different things, Bob.
Carib. 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 I mean, yeah.
Well, which
Isn't
one
it
is
Carib?
it?
Carib.
All right. So, I mean, it's short for Caribbean, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right. So, but if you say Caribbean and you say Caribbean, then
Yeah.
do you call it a Carib or do you call it a Carib?
Interesting. Yeah.
Right.
If it was a
So,
carob, wouldn't it be that little chocolate, natural chocolate nub thing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So we're actually in the airport on the way
yeah.
back, and we have some time to kill, so we're there having lunch, and I ordered, but before I did it, I asked the bartender at the place that we were staying at,
Yeah.
and I said, "How do you say it?" And he said, "Carib,"
Uh-huh.
um, and and I was like, "Oh, is it Caribbean or is it Caribbean?" And he kind of had a little smile on his face.
Yeah.
He said it's Caribbean.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I talked to my wife about it. And I think what uh, I've decided is Caribbean is a noun,
Uh-huh.
Caribbean is an adjective.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
how I've
Yeah.
used it.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I'm going on I don't say a Caribbean cruise, I
Yeah.
say a Caribbean cruise,
Yeah.
right? But I'm going to the Caribbean.
Sure. Wow. Wow. So then you ordered a Budweiser.
No, no.
Why risk
I
it, Rick? Why risk it?
I ordered a Carib and it worked out. It worked out.
Oh, so did you do anything fun? Did you have any like fun excursions? Go zip lining? Did you do jet skiing? Maybe get your beard, get those little cornrows in your beard,
Uh
any of those things?
no. We did do one excursion. We loved to snorkel. So we went to a little cove where they have turtles. We got to, see
Yeah.
turtles. That was fun. But jet skiing, I think my jet skiing days are over. Uh because of my back or whatever, but
Yeah.
I will tell you this. So uh my first marriage, I hate saying that. My
Yeah.
first marriage,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
back in the day, I was like, I don't know, what was I, 24 years old? I was a kid.
Yeah.
And my wife at the time and we went on our honeymoon to the Bahamas
Hmm.
and we got a jet ski
Yeah.
and we did that a few times. And man, I'm 24, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Right. What's not to love?
ba beam. Oh, like
Yeah.
I'm just going with it. And it might have been like the day or two before we came back. Anyway, so I come back and uh, I'm a little sore from that, right?
Hmm.
And I'm sore in areas that I'm not normally sore, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I get back and I'm working in a restaurant at the time, and the owner of the restaurant, uh, this lady, she said her name's Amber. She says to me, she's like, "Oh, tell me, how was your honeymoon? How was
Yeah.
everything?" And I was like, "Oh well, I'm a little saddle sore."
Uh,
And I start kind of rubbing my thighs. and and she's like, "Whoa, TMI! I don't need to hear this." And I was like, "Oh no, no, that's not what I meant." Uh,
oh, that's great.
it was
That's
the jet
great.
ski.
Yeah, it was a jet
I
ski.
swear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no jet ski for me.
No, I figured you'd be out there like cap on a sky cycle on your jet
No.
ski playing, No. Oh, well.
Mm-mm. I'll tell you what I did do, Bob.
Yeah.
I sat on the beach and I broke out a notebook
Yeah.
and I started writing down my strategy for next
Oh my
episode,
gosh.
which is the Captain America fantasy draft.
Okay.
And we've got two guests coming on next week, and you and I. So the four of us are going to be doing our draft. So yeah, I was doing a little planning.
Oh wow! All right, getting you always. I think that's why you schedule your vacation in front of these, so you have that time
uh,
to take deep dives. So
yeah, I gotta
good for
tell you
you.
though. I gotta tell you, uh, if I don't get a particular character,
Uh
I'm screwed.
huh.
I have no story. I will just pivot to
Yeah, it's Ram, isn't it? It's Ram.
I'm picking up I will just pivot to picking the most popular characters and then hoping I can come up with a story at the end. That's what I'll do.
Oh, that's great.
All
So,
my eggs
well,
are in A backs.
I'm glad you are prepared. I haven't given much thought to it yet, but I will this weekend. I do have a little event I got to go to on Saturday night with the missus, so
Mm-hmm.
that's an unusual thing for me. But we'll take care of that,
You
and
dressing up?
yeah, I got to wear a suit and everything. So
Mm.
yeah, so drag hoping that that fits, and I don't look like a homemade sausage. So, but we'll see how that goes. I should probably pull it out of the closet sometime in the next few
Yeah.
days to make
Yeah.
sure it fits. But so got that, and last week while you were lounging on the beach, I was getting the old endoscopy again. So
Oh
you had that, I
man.
got to do that, but that's very relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually I'm up to the point where I kind of enjoy that because like you go in and everybody like dotes on you and they
Mm-hmm.
wheel you in. Next thing you know, you're having a great conversation. They got
Countdown
music.
from 10.
They got music going. I'm rocking it out with the nurses and then I'm like, it's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
You wake up later, you feel refreshed. I'm like, that's pretty good stuff.
All right.
And it gives you an excuse to take the day off, even though
I
you don't really need to, but take the day off and enjoy. So,
I've I've twice been under with anesthesia, and apparently it it brings out a Rick that's a little funny. Then
yeah,
this goes back to when I was in the last day of school in eighth grade, and then maybe I don't know 8, 9, 10 years ago.
yeah,
Um, so both times I go in, I get some anesthesia, and again I'm a how old am I at the last day of eighth grade? I don't know,
right, yeah,
13,
yeah, right,
right?
probably, yeah,
And then 10 years ago, I was, but
yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
both times, apparently, I got very flirtatious with the nurse. So,
yeah,
and my parents cracked up,
yeah,
back when I was 13. And
yeah,
then my wife right now,
yeah,
she was there when I was coming out of
yeah.
the
Oh
little
my gosh.
operation, and she was like, "You were flirting with the nurse so much." Like, I don't know, man. There's something about the anesthesia. It's an elixir.
Yeah, right. You have a little that on home on tap. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Bob, you know what else is going on right now? So
Yeah.
if you are listening to this when it comes out, which April 15th, which again, tax day, um, we are just finishing today, Wednesday, April 15th, round two of the Cap Madness bracket. And I'm pretty excited for today because it is two upsets from round one battling it out.
Hmm.
So it's seed 24, which was Operation Rebirth. That's that Captain America 444 to 448. That's the Mark Waid, Ron Garney run.
Hmm.
Fantastic story. And then it's going up against The Strange Death of Captain America, which was the 3 issues of Jim Steranko. And both of those were upsets in round one, which beat, the favorite. And they're now going up against each other today.
Hmm.
So again, depending on you're listening to this, if this is April 15th at noon Eastern time, that will go up on the Facebook page. So it was a lot of fun. Round one, we had actually 4 upsets, and um, there were some surprises. Did you have any surprises or any favorites that you were hoping to make and it didn't make it? It broke your heart, or
Well,
somebody who's still in it and you're like, oh, I hope they go further.
Well, Rick, I'm a contrarian, so some of the stories I like, don't necessarily resonate with a lot of folks. But I was surprised that the Man Out of Time miniseries didn't make it.
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is just such a great
Mm-hmm.
modern telling of the Cap story. But went up against Adventures, and so that's
Yeah.
a fabulous book as well. Fabulous, four book series as well. So
That was the big surprise to me because, yeah, Man Out of Time was seed number 12 based on the initial voting.
yeah.
And Adventures of Captain America was actually a write in sent in by Mark Domeyer.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I forgot to
Yeah.
add that. But anyway, it was a write in and it got enough votes to become the 21 seed. And not only did it beat the Man Out of Time, but it like really beat Man Out of Time. I mean, it was like it wasn't a close, vote.
Yeah.
It was pretty significant. So that really surprised me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other one too was the landslide was either people really enjoyed the death of the Red Skull story, or they really didn't like the United States of Captain America miniseries because it was a landslide.
Yeah, that surprised me too. I thought it would have been tighter than that. But I will give credit where credit's due. We've been doing this for a few years now, or you've been putting a lot of work into this. But I think the comments have gotten more sophisticated over time.
Mm,
Defenses have gotten more sophisticated over time of people's choices one way or the
mm-hmm.
other, and I think that's really really cool because you can be swayed by somebody's comments.
Sure.
And so when a comment is, well written and a rational, reasonable argument can be made. Yeah, I read some of those comments and I go, man, I'm swayed by that. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Did
I
I
really,
sway you at all, Bob?
oh
Did
no, heck
anything?
no, I immediately do the
I see.
opposite,
Yeah, I
Rick.
figured as much. Yeah.
I
Uh,
also like the underdog, so I'm going to go for the underdog. Oh,
yeah.
nobody's voted for that yet. Well, that's me. Yeah, I'm doing that.
um, I'll admit if I don't have a dog in the race, and it's close, and I feel like, yeah, all right, I'll go for the underdog here.
Right? Yeah, spice
But
it up.
there is some that I just really loved the story, and
Mm-hmm.
I was which one I think bothered me the most that it didn't advance. I think I think it was Fallen Sun.
Mm.
Fallen
Yeah,
Sun.
yeah,
I just thought that great Jeff Loeb story, great different artists for each one. It was written as a shortly after Jeff Loeb lost his son to cancer,
yeah,
and in each issue was a different stage of grief, and it was he was writing from the heart there,
yeah, yeah,
and it was a really sentimental story about how the death of Captain America affected various people in the Marvel universe.
yeah,
I just loved that story, and it lost by one vote.
yeah,
One
yeah.
vote, Bob.
Well,
So I
that
got to ask
surprises.
you, Bob. I got to
Yeah.
ask you, Bob. Did you vote for Fallen Sun or did you
What?
vote for Fighting Chance?
I am sure I voted for Fallen Sun.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I'm surprised it was that close, quite honestly, Rick, because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got a lot of participants, and some of those stories, whether miniseries or one shots, are a little bit off the beaten path, and maybe folks read them when it first came out, but they haven't really dipped their toe back into that particular series, and so it's lost its impact a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that augurs against some of those really great stories that just people just aren't familiar, unless of course they listen to the podcast, and then we get to treat them to some of the
Yeah.
off the wall stuff that they may not even ever heard of.
Yeah. And I talking about the comments that you mentioned before, uh, it does the heart good to see some people were like, I'm voting for Hunt for the Scourge because I really enjoyed it on the podcast, because we did
Mhm.
that community theater.
Right.
Or I'm going to vote for Castaway and Dimension Z because you guys did a long tail story on that. And it was, it gave me a whole new, another way of looking at it. So, when we see those comments, it kind of feels like, you know what? Kind of, we did our job.
Yeah. Yeah. We're indoctrinating. I love it.
Well, speaking of which, Bob, should we indoctrinate into another one here today?
Probably should. Probably should. Yeah.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
K-pop Demon Hunters Haja Boys breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
Okay. Bob, do you want to tell people a little bit about well, I was going to say the story, but maybe just okay. The
Yeah.
story is the Captain America comics 70th anniversary. Bob, I'm on vacation.
Yep.
I was like, Bob, come up with an idea, and we'll cover it. And Bob gave it zero thought. I reach out to him on late Sunday or Sunday. I'm in the airport, and I'm like, "What did we come up with?" And he goes, and I could actually hear it. I could actually hear him pull it out of his butt.
The wheels turn. Yeah.
And he's like, how about this? And I'm like, what is this? And it's a World War II story. It's a freaking World War II story. We just did World War II with Adam Hughes, two stories, and we've been doing other stuff, not too distant. And like you're always saying, let's do this. And then I was like, it's a World War II story. And what did you say? No, not really.
Well, it takes place in the 40s, but I had I responded, of course, because I immediately knew that that's what Rick was going to come back with, and I thought to myself, well, it's got some other endearing qualities to this story that I thought would pluck those little heartstrings of Rick. And that he would appreciate. And it's a story, of Pre-Serum Steve, which, there's very few and far between of those.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I know how much you appreciate those because Steve Rogers is your favorite superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this is one of those books, I think, that maybe a lot of folks aren't familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's one of 12 actually that came out in 2009. And this was the 70th anniversary of Marvel. And so they did a whole series, Young Ally, Submariner Comics, Blonde Fan, all select, all winners. And Captain America Comics also had a 70th anniversary special. And it had a reprint of an old Captain America Comics, Death Loads the Bases, an old Simon and Kirby possibly story. It's hard to say because creators weren't really cited at that time, but it had an original story that I thought was really, really cool and that maybe a lot of folks hadn't been familiar with.
Would you like to hear the solicitation?
I would, yeah.
Leading off a series of celebratory specials commemorating Marvel's 70th anniversary, James Robinson, writer of Starman and Superman, and Marcos Martin, artist on Amazing Spider-Man, bring you an untold tale of the living legend. In the days before he becomes Captain America, a scrawny kid from Brooklyn named Steve Rogers shows the world that you don't need a super soldier serum to be a hero. And there you go.
That hooked you, didn't it?
No, it really did.
Yeah.
So the cover date was June 2009 and had a release date of April 1st, 2009. So we are talking, this came out basically 17 years ago this month. Bob, would you like to take the listeners through the Marcos Martin cover?
Yeah, it's such a great cover, isn't it, Rick?
It is.
And the cool thing is, Marcos did he did two covers for this particular issue. There's a nice variant cover that he did as well. That's also fabulous. But this the regular cover has it has a scrum appearing. And we see Captain America and Bucky basically plowing through this assemblage of 9 Nazi officers, and they are just being thrown askew. Their pistols are flying through the air, their hats are flying through the air, they've got their Nazi standards that are flying through the air. And Bucky's on the lower part of the cover, and he's bursting through with both fists raised in the air, and he's got a smile on his face.
Oh yeah,
right. He's got that mischievous little smile on his face, and then Cap is above him, and he's plowing through these guys, and his right fist is extended out in front of his body with his shield back over his left shoulder, and he's got a look of pure determination on his face. And right behind them, hanging on the wall, are these huge ceiling to floor banners of the swastika and Adolf Hitler's face. And the way that Cap's fist is extended is it's punching that big picture of Adolf Hitler right in the snookums. So it's a fantastic cover.
Yeah, very clever the way Marcos made that, so you can see he's punching a soldier, but because his arm's extended, it looks like he's punching Hitler in the face, which is a nice nod to Captain America Comics #1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also on the front, there is a little badge of Cap's heater shield, the original shield, and it says Timely Comics on it with the blue and the red and white stripes. The creators, we talked about James Robinson, the writer, and Marcos Martin, the penciler. He's also the inker. Colorist, Javier Rodriguez. Letterer, Corey Pettit. Editor, Stephen Wacker. All right. Let's get to the comic. So we open this up, and it says 1942, somewhere above Europe. And we see a plane. What type of plane is that, Bob?
Oh, I don't know. Some sort of transport plane. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a World War II airframe expert, but it's a troop transport.
And we see the back of uniformed Captain America with his shield on his back, and he's addressing the soldiers in the plane. And it's done in a way with while it could easily be one gigantic splash page, there are some white borders for panels to kind of show the progression of Cap's speech bubble. But at the same time, it makes you look closer at the soldiers, because if you just look at the top panel, you just see 2 soldiers, and then you look at the next one and you see additional soldiers. And when you're doing this, you're seeing they're all dressed, with their helmets and their gear, and they got their parachutes ready to go. Some of them are holding, the bags in front of them. But as you're doing this, they're all staring at Captain America as he's addressing them. But I like the way the artist did this in a way so that you're actually paying more attention to the soldiers than you are to Captain America, right? Because you don't see the face of Cap, you see him in shadow, but the focus really seems to be more on the soldiers, and they look young, they look worried. Gentlemen, if I could have your attention, now that we're in the air, I'm allowed to relay our orders for tonight's sortie. You boys not being let in on our mission's details before we took off, that tells you the level of security this one has. Hitler's scientists are hard at work on something called the sleepers. We don't know the what or why of any of it, but we do know there's a mountain facility in the Alps where work on this is being done. We're going to drop in on them and have ourselves a look-see. And then as we get further down these panels, you see a uniformed Bucky who is sitting closest to Cap, and he's polishing a revolver, Bob.
Yes, he is. Which is not something you'd want somebody to do on an aircraft, but be that as it may, it's Bucky.
Yeah, and he's smiling, of course. And ruin the evening of any Nazi who tries to stop us. Settle down, Bucky. We still have a good hour until we hit the drop zone. I'd relax if I were you. Try to sleep. I know that's what I'm going to do. And as the plane flies in the cloudy night sky, Bucky kind of sits there and he has his arms folded and he's just thinking to himself as he's looking at the soldiers who are looking at Cap, who is resting. There's not a man here who isn't proud to be a part of this mission, to follow him, to fight, yeah, even to die. I see how they look at Cap. Some of them wonder what it is that makes Cap so special. Is it the costume? His physical strength? His fighting out abilities? It's all of them, sure, but there's one more thing. In my mind, the most important thing that makes Captain America so great? Yeah, one thing. And we go from Captain America's closed eye to an open eye, and it's the pre-serum, Steve Rogers. I'm sorry, Mr. Rogers. You are quite simply not in good enough shape to be an American fighting man. And it's 1940, Brooklyn, New York. And the title to this one is, Bob?
Captain America in What Makes the Man.
And what are we looking at here, Bob?
Well, my goodness, Rick, we've got a full-on splash page with Steve Rogers' torso, shirtless, front and center, with a bunch of other shirtless men standing behind him. But it looks like in a Quonset hut of some sort, and he looks emaciated, Rick. You know, when you think of Steve Rogers pre-serum, you know that he's sickly, you know he's weak and scrawny. And Marcos Martin has really driven that point home. His chest is shrunken, his ribs are showing, he's got no muscle mass whatsoever, and even his cheeks, you know, are shrunken. He looks bad.
Yeah, and I think you hit it with emaciated. And also, what's interesting too to me is this is the Steve Rogers from Adventures of Captain America, drawn by Kevin McGuire, in that tall, lanky, skinny
Yeah,
way.
right.
He's not short. He's very tall, which makes him even look skinnier.
Yeah.
And the other thing that Steve Rogers looks like right now is very disappointed. But, sir, I want to serve my country. With everything that's going on in the world, the evil that's looming, America's going to be in this thing before much longer. And there's an officer, a uniformed officer behind the doctor, who is standing there with his hands behind his back. Yes, son, the Nazis aren't much for subtlety. And the doctor looks up at him. But there are still lots of ways to serve your country that don't involve military service. Factories need men too. Yes, but help build planes or tanks, Rogers, and leave the actual fighting to men better suited for it. And he stamps it, rejected, and hands him the paper. And Steve walks away. But there's a man in a business suit, in a black suit, purple tie, wearing a hat, and he's watching him. As Steve puts on his shirt and his jacket, and he walks up to the exit, and he looks at it, knowing that, you know, this time didn't work out either. And you could see the paper in his right hand, and then he crumples it up, and he drops it. And then the suited man who is following him, he has a notepad, and it says Steve Rogers on it. Now, Bob.
Yes.
Would Steve litter like that?
Well, maybe he just wasn't thinking, Rick. He's in a bit of a daze, I think. He came in there hoping to volunteer and enlist, and he was rejected out of hand and told it wouldn't be possible, and more than that, he was stamped 4F. So I think he's in a bit of a shock here, and he maybe not be thinking.
Okay. So then we get to this very large splash page of the downtown. And Bob, how would you describe this cityscape here that we see?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're in the shadow of the Brooklyn Bridge, which you can see in the back, and it's a city street, circa 1940, with cars driving down the street and kids playing baseball and cops chasing them, and newsstands and restaurants. It's a really deep scene, and we get to see Steve Rogers enter from way in the back. And then we see him at different parts of this street scene as he's walking toward the foreground, as he's thinking to himself. And of course, he's completely lost in his thoughts, so much so that he doesn't even see the Human Torch flying through the sky above him when there's a couple of folks pointing up. But he's so focused on his inner monologue that he's not paying any attention whatsoever to what's going on in this city street.
He's right. I know he is. But I guess I should do what I can. Serve in a factory, build planes, tanks, do whatever needs doing. But I want to fight. And coming out of an alleyway is a man dressed, suit and tie. He's got a little trench coat going on, but he's kind of stumbling out. Hey, buddy, watch where you're. Help me. Are you drunk or something? No. I'm dying. And he falls into his arms. And what do we see, Bob?
He's got a dagger sticking out of his back, Rick.
Oh, my God. I'm a Fed. Busted on a gang of fifth columnists. They found me out. But not before I got this. And what is it, Bob?
Well, it's some sort of amulet on a chain, Rick, and it's a good size amulet. It's probably like 4 inches, in diameter, and it's got this red round crystal, like a ruby, affixed in the center of the amulet, and he hands it to Steve.
Where I come from, that's 8 inches. Here, vital to national security. What is it? All you got to know is it's got to be kept safe. Take it to a guy named Simon at the Timely building. Now go. They're coming. America is relying on you. And he dies. And so Steve is kneeling over him. And then he hears a yell from down the alleyway. You! Come here! And he runs, Bob. And he's running down. And then all of a sudden, coming out of the alleyway are 3 guys. How would you describe them?
Well, yeah, these are 3 nasty looking individuals, right? We got one guy who's very large. He's wearing a trench coat and a fedora, and it looks like he might have one eye. The other one seems to be glazed over or something. So he's gigantic. And then we got a little guy who's wearing a bow tie and a black suit coat. And then the guy that's running along behind him, he's got pinstripe pants on and a green trench coat and one of those little tiny mustaches, those pencil thin mustaches that he's a villain, because only villains have those mustaches, Rick.
Get out of the... Oof. Come on. Can't let them catch me. I can't. This guy's nothing. And they're chasing after him. They're probably... 30 feet behind him, maybe. And he's going around the corner, and he sees a kid with a baseball bat and he takes it from him. Sorry, kid. Hey, that's mine. Don't worry. I'm just borrowing it. And he basically takes it and he like smacks the back of a horse that's pulling this carriage, and the horse jumps up on its hind legs and it lets out a big sound, Bob. uh, I've been waiting for that all day. And because he goes up and he knocks off behind him all the barrels that were on the carriage, and they come out and they get in the way of those three guys chasing him. So then he gets into an alleyway and he's panting and he's coughing because he's got asthma. It's one of the reasons they 4F'd him. Lost him, I think. Now, and he starts going up towards the I was going to say the subway, but it's not. It's a train. It's an above ground train.
Yeah.
Right. And he's going past some trash and garbage cans, and then all of a sudden there's a bullet that ricochets off the metal railing going up the stairs.
Bam!
You ain't going nowhere. Now the smaller guy, he's got a gun in his hand. What kind of gun do you think that is, Bob?
It looks like a 45 caliber,
Okay.
Yeah, standard issue.
All right. It's important to know because I have a question for you next. So Steve then picks up a trash can lid like a shield, and they fire at him, and he uses the shield to deflect the bullets.
Yeah. Blam, blam, blam. Ding, ding, ding.
Bob, could a trash can lid stop a 45?
Oh, no chance.
Oh,
No, not at that distance, certainly. That'd go right through it. Yeah.
okay. So I wasn't sure if it was a 45. I thought maybe it was a small caliber gun,
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure. Okay. So yep, he uses the shield to deflect the bullets, and then he runs out to the train that's coming, and there's just a couple people who are waiting up at the station. And he throws the shield, Bob, and he goes to throw it at the three guys, and the bigger one deflects the shield, and it goes into the smaller guy. Got it! And it hits him in the head.
Boom!
And then he falls in front of the oncoming train. Ah!
And I love how Marcos has drawn the train conductor.
Yeah,
You can
eyes
see
wide
that.
open. Yeah, yeah. And the train runs over him. And then Steve is on, I don't know which train he's on a train, right? So he's on the very end of the train, or is it the very front of the train? Probably the end of the train.
I think it looks like he's on the back of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't believe I'm doing this. And he jumps from that train to another train going in the opposite direction. And he falls into the back of that train and hurts himself. Ow. Oh no. They're unstoppable. And the two guys remaining are running on the tracks to jump up on the train because I guess it's just leaving the station, so it's not going very fast. So they're on the train. He's on the train, but he's only ahead of him, a little bit. Excuse me, thank you. Excuse me, thank you. He's so polite.
Really is. Under stress.
And he gets into the next car, and end of the line. It's the front of the car. Now, the other two guys aren't so polite. Get out of the way. Move. And they're just pushing people. And they get into the car. But where is he? The skinny guy. Where'd he... Don't worry. And he sees the shadow of Steve on top of the car. So that was fortunate that they got to see that. And so Steve, who's all bruised up and on top of the car, hanging on for dear life, not good. There, gotta get away. Gotta, huh? Stupid. Did you think you had a chance? Running like a coward. So why, when the war comes, the Fuhrer will win. No. And you see the up close of his eye. Not a coward. I'm an American. And I'm done running. And he goes after the big one, Bob, and he pushes the big one off the train. And they're falling, which is several stories, by the way. And the big one looks like he cracks his back on a lamppost.
He sure did. Yeah. Crack.
And Steve, luckily, falls into the back of a truck that has one of those canvas tops, and he rips right through it. And the driver slams on the brakes. What in God's name? And he opens up the back of the truck, and there's Steve, all bruised up with ripped clothes, and he's landed in the back of a what kind of truck, Bob?
It looks like it's transporting chickens. And fortunately, there's a bed of hay in there as well. So the chickens, some of them look pretty banged up.
Smushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chicken patties.
Later in the Timely building, Steve's there in an office in front of a guy who is sitting behind the chair. And then remember that guy who was watching Steve before when he was getting 4F'd?
Yeah.
He's in the office and he's kind of leaning up against the wall, just listening to the guy behind the chair. I'm sure you've noticed how irregular all this is. Boring office and a boring building is not anything you'd imagine for an operation of such importance to America and the free world. And he's holding the amulet. Truth be told, the Fifth Columnist networks are so sophisticated. I mean, we thought we'd hidden our last base in the city here, and look what happened. What did happen? It's all so strange to me. Our last hidden facility was breached. Data was stolen. It was smuggled out, hidden on this amulet. On the jewelry I had? A formula written in spider silk, almost invisible to the human eye. I can't say any more except that you will always have the gratitude of America. I understand, sir. Thank you. And he goes to reach for the door. No, thank you, Rogers. And he looks at the other man. You know, I'm breaking all sorts of protocol here, but I do think you're owed a little more enlightenment. If you ever hear the phrase super soldier applied to an American serviceman, pat yourself on the back. And Steve looks at him like, And he's out there on the street walking, and the guy who was in the office with his back against the wall is following him once again. Hey, Rogers. I've been watching you. Yes, sir. I know. I've been watching you watch me. I represent recruitment for the very project you recovered for your country. Ironically, we need men like you. But I'm 4F, sir. With A1 American spirit. I'll do anything for my country. That's very apparent. Let's take a walk. And he puts his hand on the back of Steve as they walk down the busy city sidewalk. And then we cut back to Bucky with his domino mask sitting in the plane while he was just thinking about that story. How many people know all that? Me and maybe just me. How many know the one Nazi rat to survive led the team that killed the scientists and destroyed the super soldier data? What?
Heinz Kruger?
That was Heinz Kruger, the man who killed Dr. Erskine?
I knew that mustache was bad news.
And so Steve became unique, and the legend began. Irony, sure. The thing about the events before, though, they show me when he was still frail and slight, inside he was still the man that he is now. That's the thing. And at this point, Steve stands and addresses the soldiers again. Gentlemen, our time has arrived. And we have a green light lit for them to jump out of the airplane. The thing that makes Captain America great is Steve Rogers. And we cut to a double page splash at the very end where Steve and Bucky and the soldiers are all jumping out. Of course, they have already pulled their parachutes, but not Cap and Bucky. They're going faster. And you got a nice little view of them heading from the plane coming down. The end, Bob.
Yeah, isn't that a great story?
It was okay.
Yeah, fun, right? Fun little mini story there before he heads down the curio shop stairs and gets his serum. A little bit like the adventures of Captain America. We get a little bit of a glimpse of what Steve Rogers was like before he got picked for the project. So nifty.
Yeah, I mean, well, I wouldn't say it was a little story. I mean, it was like 22 pages, right?
Wow. Yeah, it
so-
seems shorter. I think it seems shorter because there was a story like this in it was a 65th anniversary special for Captain America, I think, and Marcus Martin was involved in that as well. Ed Brubaker wrote that story. It was a lot longer.
Okay.
A lot longer. In fact, Marcos there was a six chapter story. He did 3 chapters, and Javier Polillo did the other 3 chapters. So this just seemed a lot shorter. I think people felt they were shortchanged when they got this. I remember that at the time.
So overall, you like the story?
Yeah, of course I like it. Yeah.
I mean, they took some liberties, right?
Well, yeah.
As far as changing up, who actually came to him and got him and introduced him to the idea of the super soldier program.
Sure.
But I think it was a fun story.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of Steve Rogers and you want to see more of him before he became, Captain America, this checks that box.
Yeah, and I thought it had some, particularly Bucky's words up front and the back. I thought that was some great writing. He got the essence of the character, I thought. So, yeah.
All right, listeners, we do want to hear from you. Was this a World War II story, or was it not?
Yes, indeed.
All right, and then if it wasn't, I want to know what your definition of a World War II story is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
Bob,
Yeah.
you go first. What was your favorite panel?
Oh, I think I'm gonna have to go with the left middle panel. I think it's like around page 4. It's when he's getting rejected and the doc looks just like Jack Kirby. Yeah, it's a little tribute to. We got Simon's tribute. He's going to meet a man named Simon at the Timely Building, but we also got a tribute to Jack Kirby in here. The doctor looks strikingly familiar, so I love that. And
I did not catch that, but now that you say it, I see it.
Yeah, it's a great little tribute, right, to one of Cap's creators. So I got to go with that.
He was just missing the stogie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can't probably. Well, even back then, you probably could smoke inside, and have a martini at the same time. Yeah, times were different. So, what about yourself? Favorite panel?
I'm going to go with the opening page, splash page. I mean, to me, it's one big image because it's Cap, spreads across.
Yeah.
But they just kind of put those panels in. I feel like just to tell the story.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time describing it because I did really like it. I thought that was a nice layout and again, focusing on the soldiers and not Cap. And then Bucky was kind of an afterthought with his word balloon being like at the very bottom left.
Yeah.
So, because normally your eyes would go to Cap and Bucky.
Right.
And
yeah.
so I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And t-shirt worthy?
Going with the cover.
Yeah. Good
Go.
choice. It's a
Yeah.
great choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Again, we talked about it, but I love the way it looks like he's punching Hitler.
right. Right. Well, I'm gonna go with the final splat, the double splash, double wide splash.
That was my backup. Yep.
That was your backup. That cover was my backup. So great minds think alike. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
love that perspective where you see the transport plane high up above and all the chutes blossoming around the paratroopers, but Cap and Bucky have not they're going manual opening, high altitude, low opening. They're going to go as fast and as low as they can before they pull those chutes,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got their arms pinned. Well, he's Cap's got his arms pinned to his side, and Bucky's more acrobatic as he plummets to the ground. It's just a great perspective. So I think that looked
Mm-hmm.
great on a shirt.
I agree. I agree. What's going in your time capsule?
Well, Rick, I think it's going to have to be that this is a Marvel's 70th anniversary. So it really does, pin it at a certain point in time, 2009. And like I said, it was one of those 12 issues, all those timely titles that were popular in the 40s, having an anniversary special for each one, Cap being among those.
Being
I think
first.
really, yeah, being first, right. It really sets it in time. And of course, they've had other anniversary issues, but when this one is, just by the number.
Mm-hmm.
And how about yourself?
Time capsule. I'm gonna go with that double page splash of the cityscape while he's walking through there. You see Steve multiple times. I think that's a nice depiction of a time, in place.
Yeah, it really
Yes.
is. It's a lot of fun to look at, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you want to zoom in on it, you want to get your eyeball up close to it and look at all the detail of the store names, and just having the Human Torch, flying across the background, I think was a really nice touch.
Yeah. Yeah. Good catch by you. Um, so next episode, we already talked about it, is the Captain America comic book fantasy draft, which is number 6. And we have a couple of guests who are going to be joining us. So we have the return of Mark Domeyer, who we mentioned earlier today, who was the guy who suggested Adventures of Captain America be in the bracket. He returns. I think he was in draft. It's been 2 years. So I think he was in draft number 2. I could maybe. So he's coming back. He has said that he already has another story after the first one ended. So he's been holding on to the story for a couple of years. So I'm sure he's itching to do that. And he's also he already said he's working on a way to beat you at a loophole.
Yeah, I embrace loopholes. So my goodness. Yeah. Go, Mark, go.
Then we have a new contestant, but not new to supporting the show. This is a longtime Shield slinger, Kyle Foster. So he's going to be joining us as well. So Mark and Kyle, get ready because next episode we're going to be doing. And for those who don't know what the draft is, and you're like, what are they talking about? So it's just a fun way for us to kind of, the NFL draft is coming up. And so we figured we'll tie it in. We'll have our own draft. And we've actually started this, I want to say in August was the first time, because that's relevant fantasy football has draft. So what are we doing? So each one of us has Steve Rogers on our team. And then we have to draft 8 characters. And the 8 characters have to be appeared in a Captain America comic book, whether it's a regular series, miniseries, one show, whatever, as long as it's the Captain America comic book, right? And you need to have one lover, so former, current, well, it doesn't matter, one villain, one former foe turned ally. So I always use like Black Widow as an example, and one civilian. Bob, what's a civilian again?
someone who has never worn a uniform or worked for either the military or in a law enforcement capacity.
Uh, kind of. No, not really.
No? Oh,
I'm
shoot.
going to go with the email that I sent out with the rules.
Oh, I don't read those.
I know. So civilian is someone that is not actively fighting crime in any way,
Mhm.
and that means either with powers or
Right.
as an agent of Shield, for example.
Yeah. All
So
right.
so they could been in the military. I mean,
Okay.
as long as
All
they're not
right.
active,
Okay.
right? They're now currently a civilian. They could have been a former, like you used, I don't know, Miss.
Betty Ross,
Yeah,
Golden
right.
Girls.
So
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So we need to have those 4 filled out. And here's the other kicker, right? Out of the 8 characters, they have to represent 5 different decades.
Yeah.
That's the tough one,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then at the end, we're going to pitch. We have 3 minutes to pitch our story that we're going to do with those characters. And then Facebook group, you guys get to vote on
Yeah.
which is the favorite story you would like to read the most.
Right. Yep. So it's well, gosh, we've been doing it seems like years, right? And we've
Yeah.
had some great stories, and some of them have made it into print, Rick.
Well, one of them did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got something you're not telling me, Bob? I don't know. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. So make sure you
Yeah.
come back next episode. Also, make sure that you vote today to end up round 2 of the bracket and vote for Adventures of Captain America. That's my little plug. That's my little plug.
It's a plug.
All right. Any final words from you, Bob?
No, I am looking forward to next week and getting the battle on.
All right. For Bob Lucius, I'm Rick Verbanis. And if you don't mind, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you're on YouTube right now, you know what to do. Give us a thumbs up. And if you're on Apple, give us a 5-star review. We love reading those comments. And if you're on Spotify, you can leave comments. You're on YouTube, you can leave comments. And of course, on Facebook, we always love the comments there as well. So thank you for listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.